I call to order this meeting of the Coweta County Board of Education, Agenda 794, 6:30 p.m., Tuesday, July 11, 2023. Before we say the Pledge of Allegiance, I want to remember the recent losses of 3 Coweta County School System students during tonight's moment of silence. Please remember Eastside Elementary student Eli Ratliff, who passed away in early June, Brooks Elementary student Grayson McDowell, who passed away in June, and East Coweta High School student Terrence Williams, who passed away in late June. Please remember the family and friends of these students in mind, and join me again during our moment of silence. So please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. No recognitions. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 13th, 2023?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Is there a motion to approve the called minutes of June 27, 2023? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Yeah, I'm abstaining.
Mr. Glover abstaining? Yes, sir. Thank you. Action items, Group 1, Dr. Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve a contingency change request to lower gas lines at Noonan High School. Approval is requested for a contingency change request to lower existing gas lines under new paving in the center driveway at Noonan High School. This area of driveway is to receive a soil cement subbase as part of the base bid. After excavation of the existing paving, it was discovered that the existing gas lines would be located in the new pavement subgrade. To avoid delaying the schedule to complete this paving prior to the start of the school year, a field change has been approved to proceed with this work. The total contingency adjustment amount is $42,266.27. The change order proposal and supporting documentation is attached. Mr. Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve a contingency change request to lower gas lines at Noonan High School. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Any discussion?
I did have a couple of questions, Dr. Horton, and thank you for taking my phone calls earlier this week about this. Anytime I see change orders or concerns, and I know Noonan High School is such a big project, I'd just like to know where we are on that contingency, because I know we have built-in contingency there. So where are we in the process of that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your question. As far as contingency change orders on the entire project go, we're in really good shape. I do want to point out to the board each month on the facilities and construction report. Mike, if you could go down to the facilities and construction report for me. And click there. Every project that we do, you'll see on the facilities and construction report, of course, the contract amount, the amount that's been paid to date, and then a percentage of contingency change orders and the amount. A good reference, this Northgate project, which is closed out. We're just waiting on some documents by the architect. With that project being completed, we used, on the renovations and modifications, 63.84% of the contingency and had $112,307 left over in contingency when the project was finished. If you scroll down, Mike, and we look at the Noonan High project, in bid package 1, we actually are at a negative 3.76% because we got a credit back in there. So we haven't used any contingency in bid package 1, which is the bid package that contains the work that we're talking about, those gas lines. If you look at BP2, which is primarily the gym, we've used 40.79% of the contingency at this point, and still have 534,000, just over 534,000 left in contingency. And then BP3, the academic buildings, of course, we're in the heart of that project now. We've had 18.3% contingency change at this point, and then remaining, we have $2.5 million, just north of $2.5 million in contingency, yes. So we're in pretty good shape contingency-wise historically. I will tell you that with the nature of the Noonan High project, building a school on top of a school that had been there since, 1950, we knew we were going to run into some things. So I'm not surprised that we've used some contingency, but we're always going to make sure that we bring those change requests to you guys for formal approval. So, Mr. Chair, I do recommend approval.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Next action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with Coweta County for 2023 paving projects for a change order to repair unforeseen conditions and install additional paving at Jefferson Parkway Elementary. Approval is requested to amend the intergovernmental agreement between Coweta County and the school system for paving projects at Eastside Elementary, Brooks, Noonan Crossing Elementary, and Jefferson Parkway. Change order has been requested to remediate the parking lot substrate at Jefferson Parkway Elementary School. On June 16, 2023, after removal of the existing parking or paving in the rear parking lot at Jefferson Parkway, contractor proof-rolled the area to check the condition of the substrate before installing the new paving base material. County engineer observed the proof roll and determined that the subgrade was not suitable for paving. Recommendation was made to add a soil cement mixture to the existing subgrade prior to installation of new base and paving. Contractor will use the same unit costs as that submitted in the base bid for installation of the soil cement. In order to avoid delay in completion of this project, field change has been authorized to proceed with this work. Additional paving on the front drive is also included in this change order. Resurfacing of the front loop was not included in the base bid. This area will be resurfaced and restriped at the same unit cost as submitted in the base bid. Change order cost is $136,675.10. Supporting documentation is attached. Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with Coweta County for 2023 paving projects for a change order to repair unforeseen conditions and install additional paving at the Jefferson Parkway Elementary School. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
On that, again, anytime I see change orders, I give you a call. Dr. Horton? And I understand unforeseen conditions. So we've gotten in there, we've seen that the problems are in there. How far are we behind? Because school starts in 4 weeks.
We'll be fine. There's still some paving left to do on the front loop, but we will be fine as far as school starting. That's why it was important to do the field change. We found this right after last month's board meeting, but we are on track to be able, with all of our paving projects, to be able to start school. Weather permitting? Weather permitting.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
The next item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve school food service program lunch price increase. Regulation 7 CFR 210.14E requires school food authorities participating in the National School Lunch Program to ensure sufficient funds are provided to the nonprofit school food service account for meals served to students not eligible for free and reduced price meals. Using the state-provided paid lunch equity tool to complete the steps necessary to determine the target 2023-2024 paid lunch price and consistent with program regulations adjust paid lunch prices accordingly. Our school food service program, after using this tool, requests an increase of 10 cents per lunch meal. School lunch prices for the 2023-2024 school year would be as follows. Elementary lunch for students, it's currently $2.80. It would go to $2.90. Middle school lunch for students is currently $3.05. It would increase to $3.15. High school lunch for students is currently $3.05, and it's increasing to $3.15. Board members, I will make the point that this is a requirement to participate in the National School Lunch Program. So with that, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve school food service program lunch price increase. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just
I do have-
oh, go ahead.
Quick question. Breakfast prices are not listed here. Is that, they assume that breakfast prices are staying the same?
Yes, sir. Breakfast will remain the same.
And that was coming after, last year I know we paid for lunches, but that was a 2-year break we had because there were no charges. Everyone was free for lunch coming out of the COVID pandemic.
Yes, ma'am. For
Okay.
2 years, there was universal free lunch due to the pandemic. We started again last year with paid lunch. Prices held firm, but this year we're required to up the price.
Is there any discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
The next item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve the removal and replacement of a playset on the Noonan Crossing Playground. Approval is requested for the removal and replacement of a playset on the Noonan Crossing Playground. Swings and Billiards will provide all materials for the playground equipment for a total cost of $36,964. The cost of all playground equipment will be covered through funds raised by the PTO. Board members, I will mention that all the requirements of Board Policy FEAE have been met, and I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the removal and replacement of a playset on the Noonan Crossing Playground. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. I'm not sure who you, Mr. Glover or Mr. Robertson, they both said at the same time.
Mr. Roberts.
Any discussion?
I do have one comment, Mr. Chairman. Just as I've said before with the PTOs, and this kind of goes to all the PTOs at all the schools out there, thank you so much for what you do. Obviously, there's a lot that we cannot, the system cannot provide. So kudos to those people that get out and raise the money and do the work and help install and spread mulch and do it all. Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
The next action item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve an allowance adjustment request to cover cost escalations for framing, drywall, and ceiling materials at Noonan High School for BP3. Approval is requested for an allowance adjustment to cover material cost escalation for drywall, framing, and ceilings. Funds were included in the guaranteed maximum price contract allowance to cover potential cost escalations. The allowance adjustment requested for material cost escalations is $63,177.95. The allowance adjustment proposal and supporting documentation is detached. Mr. Chair, I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve an allowance adjustment request to cover cost escalations for framing, drywall, and ceiling materials at Noonan High School, bid package 3. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Dr. Horton, some just came to my mind. Is this, I mean, I know the environment we're in. Is this something that we expect to continue seeing kind of in the future?
You know, I hope not, but I am a little bit surprised that this is the first one of these we've seen with the environment that we've been working in. And talking to, when I saw this come across, Mr. Cheek and I met with the folks at Parrish, and quite frankly, a little bit surprised that we haven't seen a little bit more of it. I think it speaks to the job that they've tried to do as far as budgeting for the project, that we haven't had any more of this. But I do, after speaking with them, I think that it's certainly something that is warranted. Just so everyone does know, when we have something like this, first off, it comes to Mr. Cheek. He gets with Parrish, then gets with the architects and engineers and makes sure that they all agree that they think that this is something that's necessary. And in this instance, all of them do. So I'm comfortable with this. Hope we don't have any more of them, though.
Yep, no, fair. And just one more follow-up that I had, and we spoke about. And this amount will be essentially rolled into the contingency that Ms. Dees was talking about earlier.
Yes, sir. It's included in the guaranteed maximum price. So there is no adjustment to the guaranteed maximum price.
Thank you.
Yes. That's right. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Cheek. All right, all those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Next item I have for you is to approve changes to our workers' compensation panel. The following changes need to be made to our current panel. Piedmont Orthopedics, Dr. David Burka and Dr. Virginia Jones under one location, which is now going to be 354 Noonan Crossing Bypass. We'll remove Dr. Kevin Park. CPM Advanced Surgical Specialist, name has changed to Piedmont Physician Surgical Specialist, CPM Surgery. Joseph Morris, MD, will now be Joseph Morris III, MD. And then Georgia Bone and Joint Orthopedics Peachtree City location has moved to Fayetteville. The new address is 125 Grand Oak Drive in Fayetteville, so we need to make those mostly editorial changes for our workers' comp panel. Recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve changes to our workers' compensation panel. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Chair, the last item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve a contingency change request to replace an exterior HVAC unit with an interior unit. Approval is requested for a contingency change request to replace an exterior HVAC unit on the 900 building at Noonan High School with an interior unit. Current contract includes replacing all of the HVAC units on the 900 building. Plans called for an exterior unit on room E202. However, an exterior unit will extend into the path of the stairway outside of this room. Interior unit's already been shipped to the job. We will take the original unit to be used on another project. The total contingency adjustment amount is $27,514.29. The change order proposal and supporting documentation is attached. Board members, if you're familiar with the Noonan campus, between where the old music building was and the 900 building, there's a set of steps that comes down the exterior of the 900 building. And when we looked at it, the exterior barred unit, right, Ronnie? The exterior barred unit would have jutted out into the path of those steps. And when I saw it, I was concerned, after talking to these guys, that it was going to be a safety issue. So they're able to retrofit, go with a unit. It's going to be an interior unit that won't jut out into that walkway and be a safety issue. So that's the reason for the change. So I recommend approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve a contingency change request to replace an exterior HVAC unit with an interior unit. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. No action items in Group 2 or 3. Moving to superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll call on Mr. Chapman to bring you board report and sales tax. Mr. Chapman.
Financial report. June is the end of our fiscal year. Right now, we're at 100.7% with the increase to the benefits. We have our year-end accruals, adjustment, transfers to do. We'll have everything finalized in the next few weeks, but will not go into reserves at this point. Sales tax, still see good collections there, over 3.1 million. Year-over-year increase is just under 7%.
Call on Dr. Guy to bring you board goal report and then policy revision. Dr. Guy.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. For our board goal report, just want to update you. The Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency, in partnership with the Georgia Department of Education, hosted the 2023 Georgia School Safety and Homeland Security Conference on June 19th through the 21st in Athens, Georgia. The Georgia School Safety and Homeland Security Conference is this state's premier and longest-running conference for school safety. This year's conference was attended by both the Director and Coordinator of Student Services, Mr. Ken Kesselring and Mr. Anthony Finley, along with multiple Coweta County School System resource officers. This conference provided important and vital resources to help keep our schools and communities safe, and the conference also provided an opportunity for education officials to learn more about how we can prepare, prevent, and respond to emergencies in schools. Focusing on school safety is one of the major issues that our Governor Kemp has emphasized throughout the state of Georgia, and likewise Superintendent Horton and our Coweta County School Board have made school safety a top priority. Ensuring that our Coweta County school system students can learn and grow in a safe environment is one of our greatest obligations and responsibilities. Therefore, we have continued to focus on training and resources for our schools to ensure that they are prepared to handle and respond to any and all circumstances. And I'd just like to thank all of the school resource officers and law enforcement officers throughout our school system for your commitment, dedication, service, and protection.
Mark, while you're transitioning, I will take the opportunity to thank Chief Blankenship, Sheriff Wood, all of the other agencies that spent money to send the school resource officers to this training to make our schools safer. They really work year-round to perfect their craft, which is a specialty in that school safety, and I appreciate their partnership. So thanks, Mark.
As you know, we visit and revisit our policies each July and table recommendations and revisions for a month. I'd like to go through some policy revisions for this year. I'll begin with policy GBRH. GBRH, professional personnel leave and absences. We have updated or revised this policy to reflect 9 unpaid discretionary days, which means that we will officially recognize Juneteenth. Also, in this particular policy, we've added, or should I say, we've reinstated 12-month employees that work year-round, a vacation provision. So that's policy GBRH, professional personnel leaves and absences. Policy IDCH, dual enrollment. This particular policy deals with dual enrollment for our students, and we've made one addition and some revisions so that we can be in compliance with State Board Rule 160-4-2-34. And major addition at the end of this particular policy, dual enrollment, we have to have a statement in regards to valedictorian and salutatorian, and it will mirror what we already have in Coweta County, but basically that the valedictorian is a student must be ranked #1 in the class and earn a high school diploma, and to be selected as salutatorian, the student must be ranked #2 in the class and earn a high school diploma. Once again, board policy IDCH, dual enrollment. The next policy we have to revise is actually a regulation, IHE-R. This regulation deals with promotion and retention. We actually made one adjustment. We didn't add anything, but we actually redacted language so that it reflects that for promotion to 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, we no longer have specific courses that you have to have passed, but it would be reflected in how many units. For 10th grade, 6 units must be passed, 8 are possible. 11th grade, 13 units, 16 units are possible. And for 12th grade, 20 units must be passed and 24 possible. Graduation requirements do not change. We still require a minimum of 28 units in Coweta County and 32 units are possible. Once again, that's policy or regulation IHE-R. And the final policy this year is JHB-R. This is a regulation deals with student activities, funds, management. We made an addition to this particular policy, basically bringing us up to date with the world that we live in. Credit cards may now be accepted as a form of payment from parents and/or students through approved online payment platforms determined by the central office. And of course, all revenue and receipts collected through the online payment platform must be entered and reconciled monthly into accounting records. Once again, Regulation JHB-R, Student Activities Funds Management. All of these will be tabled for 1 month, and you all will vote next month.
Thank you, Dr. Guy, and thank you for your work gathering all those from the various departments throughout the system. Board members, on the facility and construction report, we've already talked through a few of these items. Of course, Northgate project, we're still just waiting on some closeout documents. Madras and Winston-Dowdale fire alarm replacement, just waiting on some inspections over the next couple of weeks on those, and those projects will be completed. Softball field houses at our high schools, design is proceeding, and we're scheduled to take bids on August the 22nd of 2023 on those softball field houses. Band towers, which you approved last month, some of the demo of the existing towers will begin over the course, and hopefully we'll have the new towers installed this coming November. Talked a little bit about Noonan High School, BP1. We're getting close to the end of the work in BP1, should be completed by the time school starts. And the majority of that work centered around that paving that'll be going on over the next couple of weeks in the center of campus there. BP2, which is the gym project, brick cleaning's complete. If you've gone by, you'll see exterior windows and most exterior doors have been installed. We've got HVAC units. Some of those are operating in there to get the facility dried out. They're working on the roof membrane. It's substantially complete. Still doing a little bit of troubleshooting on some of that. Painting inside, and of course, Mr. Copeland and I were in yesterday. Mr. Copeland, yesterday, I think we had 1.5 basketball goals. Today, we had 5, I think. So we're making progress. So we're on schedule with that project, and that gym, everyone, it has been, talking to the people at Parish, it has been one of the most challenging and tight projects that they've done because of where it sits. But they've responded every step of the way and done a really good job on it. BP3, which I still call the academic buildings. If you've gone by, it's amazing to see what can go on in about 5 short weeks. Masonry blocks going. We've got steel roof joists going in. You can really see the outline of a school now. Actually did a big concrete pour, I think about 1 o'clock this morning on the 3rd floor. So they are rocking and rolling, and the place looks like an anthill over there every day. So we're taking advantage of not having kids in school to get some work done over there, and everything is on schedule, and if we can just keep dodging raindrops, we'll keep it that way. So, Mr. Chair, that's all I have. You can see there at the bottom some various projects. We've got some painting going on at some schools, Welch, Glanton, and Elm Street. We're moving the Empower program down to Glanton to take advantage of some space there. Got some mobile classrooms that we're moving around. And Ronnie and his folks have been busy this summer, but we're in really good shape. With 3 weeks to the start of the school year, we're in pretty good shape. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Horton.
Dr. Horton, quick question on the band towers. With that demolition starting soon and then those getting installed in November, obviously that's in the midst of football season. Do they have contingency plans, or can they work around not having their tower for a while?
I haven't spoken to them, but knowing those 3, they'll be just fine. They will be just fine.
And I don't claim to know a lot about band preparation or marching band, so don't get that don't get that notion. So, but yeah, I'm sure they'll figure out something I didn't know. So thanks.
Okay, so we're moving to the public comment section of the agenda. We set time each meeting at 7:15. We're a few minutes early. I'm just going to briefly read the public comment agreement. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. The Board of Education will listen to each presentation without comment. After the presentation is made, each board member may respond if he or she wishes to. for a period no longer than 1 minute. Only residents of Coweta County or employees of the Coweta County School System may speak in the public comment portion of the meeting. No grievances will be heard concerning any specific personnel action or any specific county employee except through the grievance procedure set forth in the board's personnel policy. No one will be allowed to discuss any matter involving threatened or pending litigation with the Board of Education during the public comment portion of the meeting. In the need to preserve order in the meeting, no person attending the meeting will be allowed to boo, hiss, cheer, clap, or otherwise show approval or disapproval for any speaker in any manner whatsoever. No signs or placards advocating any action or position will be allowed at the meeting. No personal attacks on any person will be allowed. I, as chairman of the board, am responsible for enforcing these rules. No citizen or system employee will be retaliated against in any manner whatsoever for speaking on matters of public concern at the Board of Education meeting. Any person not recognized within the allotted time period of the public comment section will be rescheduled to speak at the next meeting. I guess in this last one, request to speak during the public comment portion of a meeting must be received at the Board of Education office no later than 3 hours prior to that meeting being called to order. Okay, so with that, we have one speaker, Mr. Alan Brady.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's July, the month of our nation's founding 247 years ago. In less than 3 years, it will be our 250th birthday. At the rate of deterioration we're seeing at present, I'm seriously concerned we won't make it to 250, at least not in the form that we would recognize unless we really start to turn things around, and soon. It's also the season, at least, if not the month, of property tax bill notices. I got mine. Once again, due to insane federal government monetary and fiscal policies that have been around a long time but were accelerated in the spring of 2020 and continue, on paper, our houses are worth quite a bit more than they were just a couple of years ago. But the thing is, unless you're moving here from another part of the country where home prices are even more outrageously high, and you just sold your gold mine there and can turn around and buy a lower price one here, you're stuck. You can't sell because you have to turn around and buy, and if you have a mortgage, you'll have to pay a much higher rate for the new one. Last year, this board appeared to recognize this, to agree and as I recall, reduce the millage rate to offset the valuation increases somewhat, but not completely. Although I didn't hear it tonight, I did see it in the written report, the sales tax report. Revenues will be declining, starting to. People are suffering from high prices and cutting back spending. I know we are. People on fixed incomes, and just about everyone else for that matter, are facing eventually being priced out of their homes due to taxes, not to mention other costs like utilities and insurance. I hope that you see the handwriting on the wall and can see it in your hearts and in your calculations to make this year's taxes revenue neutral. I believe that the county commission, who is in charge of the rest of the county government, which has half the budget and 1/3 of the employees of the school system, is considering this issue in their discussions and deliberations. All that said, as I've mentioned before in these meetings, all things related to money are secondary at the moment. We're facing a moral and spiritual crisis that makes concerns about money trivial. As founding father and second president of the United States, John Adams, recognized, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Without the self-control and self-restraint that comes from an upbringing according to time-tested moral principles such as those found in the Scriptures, the God-given freedoms which are supposed to be guaranteed by government under the Constitution and Bill of Rights can be perverted. Government will regularly overstep its authority, and people in governments can and will abuse and do evil to each other. Man has a sinful nature and must rely on the help of a higher power to stay on the straight and narrow. As we can see from any brief tier of the nightly news, little is staying on the straight and narrow these days. From time to time, events occur that challenge the ability and judgment of those who have been placed in authority. Now is such a time, and here is such a place. The question is, will those do the right thing? Will they make the right decisions when the challenges are relatively small, so that they will be prepared to do the same when the challenges are bigger? I'm afraid when it comes to protecting children from exposure to inappropriate sexually explicit material, this board and administration has come up short. Mene, tekel, upharsin. You have been measured, found wanting, and will be divided up. It's very likely that the Georgia legislature will pass some form of school choice, likely much stronger than the partial payment system for failing schools that was shelved last session. For a long time, I thought I saw the value of taxpayer-funded schools. I, my wife, my kids, my parents, as well as my grandparents, to the degree they had any schooling to speak of, were products of it, and they were a source of community bonding. But the last few years have shown me the error of my thinking. In general, the public schools in this state, and especially in this county, are extremely well-funded and have unimaginably wonderful facilities. But there is a disease, a rot, a cancer, that infects them, and despite the efforts of some to point this out with the hope that the problem could be quickly corrected, those in charge refuse to deal with it, and the infection continues to spread. When the time comes for the legislature to begin considering these issues again and the committees begin to hear from citizens, there will be many of us who will stand up and be heard and will relate our experiences. Please, please, have the courage to use your authority and put a stop to this cancer before it spreads any further. I continue to pray that you do. Thank you.
Thank you all for being in attendance this evening, both online and in person. I also thank our one member of the public who signed up to speak today. There will not be any public comment responses from the board this evening. But moving on now to board comments.
I do have a few comments. It's July, and I don't have a lot of people to talk to, so I get talkative. But as a government who loves to write and somebody who loves laws and policy, I know sometimes it gets a little mundane to have to read laws and policy, but as a writer, I take those very, very seriously. And one of the when I was reading through the policies earlier, when Dr. Horton sent these out, I read through all of them to make sure that we are legal, to make sure that we are doing what we need to do. But on IHER, the dual enrollment policy, I was so excited to see that. Dr. Whitlock may or may not agree with me on this one, but I'm excited to see that because we have so many kids. We're going to remove that math and English requirement because so many of our kids could go into welding and go into CTAE. And I think here in Coweta County, we need to encourage those children to do vocational and not just a college track. And so I'm thrilled, and I know we have not voted on this policy. We will vote on these policies. And I encourage my other board members to read through those policies because those little changes that we make in policy change the trajectory of students, and it can change their lives. I do believe I was in Walmart 7 years ago, and I had a lady come up to me in Walmart, and she said her son had been a welder at CEC, and he had gotten his welding license, and he was welding off the coast, off the Gulf Coast, which is a lot of money in that. She told me, she goes, Miss Dees, it's the first time that my family has been off of welfare. And I thought, what a powerful statement that here in Coweta County that we recognize that not all kids go to college and not all should go to college. And there are other trajectories and we offer that. And so this policy, IHER, that dual enrollment policy, will kind of help those kids who aren't so great in math and English to go on. We're only removing one requirement. It's only one math and one English. We are still requiring the 28 credits to graduate. Don't get excited. Still have to get those 28 credits to graduate. But I just encourage you guys to look at that policy because we will be voting on those, am I correct, next month? Because I think it's just such a great way for us to move forward and help those kids. So that was my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Mrs. Dees. Are there any other board comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve to enter into executive session to discuss personnel, real estate, and potential litigation?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.